Hey everybody, this is John Desatel, Desatel and Associates Real Estate. I am sitting here today, June 1st, 2022, from our beautiful home in Douglas County, Colorado. I wanted to share with you some videos that we are making as we begin to move away from text and written social media into a more of a video format. Um, my market updates and market predictions on where we are in the real estate market. I had made a market top comment post on social media several months ago, and several of you had asked me for my predictions on where I felt the market was going right now. And I wanted to elaborate on that a little more. I do feel that we are heading into a pretty significant market downturn. Whether you want to call it a crash or a correction or a downturn or biblical crash, you can use any words you want, but prices are going to correct. Whenever we get into these catch-all words, or oh my God, or gotchas, or the newspaper says, oh my God, the sky is falling, glass is half full or glass is half empty, depending on where you're at in the market. It could be an opportunity of a lifetime. It could be a really scary time. I lived through this in 07, 08, and I lost my ass. But it also taught me a lot. And, it kind of made me reflect on our trip through the Southwest recently and brought out a metaphysical side of me. And it sounds a little hokey, but give me a moment to explain. I'm back in college when a friend of mine, Pete, and I were in college, and we were taking economics together and business school. You really don't get rid of money if you think about it. It's kind of like in the universe, you don't get rid of matter. You can change its form, you can change its shape, but in the universe, you're really not getting rid of matter. You're changing its properties, but you're not destroying it. And, well, John, what the hell does that have to do with my wallet? Well, it has everything to do with your wallet. Because if you've got $1 and you lose that dollar, the dollar really isn't disappearing. It's going into somebody else's pocket. So if the market crashes and we say, oh my God, the market crashes, everybody's lost their ass. Not necessarily. A lot of people have lost their ass, but somebody else out there just made a shitload of money off of your misery. Some Elon Musk, some Cathie Wood, some Warren Buffett, somewhere on planet Earth capitalized off of your misery. Now, again, where am I going with all this? Because markets act in cycles. Markets are predictable. They really are. If we go back in history, and you can go back 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, 500 years, you can go back to the greed of the Romans. You can go back to the Russians and the Revolution. You can pick any society you want to study around the world, and you can look at societal greed, whether it's gluttony from your tummy, eating too much. You can look at what happens to the human body if we gorge on too much food, as I have. You can look at what somebody drinks too much or smokes too much, and I'm not picking on you. We all have our vices. But greed leads to problems. And when markets gorge on themselves, eventually the market gets sick. And sick markets eventually develop symptoms, just like the human body. And eventually that, just like going to a party, cocaine or drugs or whatever, it feels so good until it doesn't anymore. And so by studying these markets, Early on in the party, it's good. Everybody's dancing, everybody's drinking, everybody's throwing their underwear on telephone lines, and everybody's having a good time. And then later on in the party, people start disappearing, and people are still having a good time. There's less and less people at the party. Makes sense where I'm going with this? Some people that know the party's getting a little out of hand, they start going home early. But the music's still playing, everybody's still dancing, fewer people at the party. And then people that probably should have gone home a little while ago drank a little too much. They drink and drive, and most of those people make it home, but a few people get pulled over by the police and they pay a penalty. Agreed? A few people more drink too much and they get in an accident. A few people drink way too much, get in a serious fatality or die. But those few people left at the party are left cleaning up, guess what? All the shit mess left over from the party. The beer cans and the vomit, and the house is a mess. The house is trashed. And so where you're at in the party in a real estate market cycle is so important to understand. And because guess what? Parties will continue to go on from the beginning to the end of history. We're going to continue to have parties. The bigger the party, like Mardi Gras or Guavaween, right? The bigger the shit mess left after. There's going to be parties, there's going to be alcohol, there's going to be puking, there's going to be drunk driving, there's going to be fatalities. People are going to lose their lives. But the party will continue because people never learn. Human nature is, unfortunately, and I'm learning as you mature as a being on planet Earth, unfortunately, wars continue. Look at Ukraine. Gluttony continues. Drugs continue. We as a human being have yet to really learn from our mistakes. Again, John, where are you going with all this? Because I want you, the consumer, or you, the client, or you, the real estate investor, to learn. Hopefully 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 of you will learn. So right now where we're at in the real estate cycle is you should have left this party a long time ago. You should not have been on social media forums and moving to Florida, moving to Tampa Bay, moving to Denver, moving to Saskatchewan, listening to all those people. Oh, it's never been a better time to move, better time to buy, blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. There were better times to buy. 2008, 2009, 2010, when the market was crashing, was a shit time to buy then. 2010 to 2014, when I was out with my clients gobbling up the goodies, was a great time to buy, and people were making millions of dollars. Those were the best times to buy. 14 to 19, well, it was okay time to buy. You could still make some good money on investments. When we get to 19, guess what happened? We really got to a point where the market started to get bubbly again. Now, government came in. It's not a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. I don't want to talk politics, okay? Both administrations, government, Democrats, Republicans, independents, last administration, the current administration, the Federal Reserve printed cocaine money. And look, they meant well. The pandemic created a situation where the government said, oh shit, we got a big problem. So they went and gave cocaine money to Johnny and said, spend, spend, spend. The problem was you drop the rates down to zero, you print a lot of free money, cheap money, and guess what happened? We already had hyperinflated prices. We had an asset bubble already happening towards the tail end of 18. So now we have this hyperinflated asset market. People think the world is ending, and for a lot of people, the world did end, they died, okay? The world did end for a lot of people. So people said, well, look, world's ending, I'm going to probably die from this. I might as well just say, fuck it, I'm going to go enjoy my life. So they spent. If you know you're going to die 6 weeks from now, a month from now, whenever you're going to die, you're going to go have a good time. So they spent, and they spent, a lot of you spent, I spent, my wife and I spent. So they spent like crazy. That creates an inflationary pressure. So we all went to a big party, the whole globe. We created an asset bubble. When I spend money on Marsha's vase, Marsha thinks, wow, my vase is worth a lot of money. That means the other vases in my house are worth a lot of money. So because my other vases are worth money, I'm going to go buy a fancy car. The car dealer says, wow, my cars are worth more money. So I'm going to go buy a boat. The boat dealer says, wow, my boats are worth more money. I'm going to go buy a rental house or a second home. You following me? You create this asset bubble. Then people have the needs. They've got the food, the shelter, the clothing. So we have these basic hierarchy of needs: food, shelter, clothing, Maslow, whatever you want to get into. So then you start working into things you really don't need. Do we need a 9th car? Do we need an 80th vase? Of course not. Those are wants. Do we need Bitcoin? No. Now, I'm not dogging alternative currencies. However, when we start creating entirely new monetary devices with no real way of tracking those devices or having a benchmark to measure their value, and we're taking untrained people that have no training in what they're investing in, okay? I have an entire career in real estate. Not being cocky, what I'm saying is my entire life's real estate. Your entire life is whatever you are in. Maybe it's owning a hair salon, or maybe it's astronomy, whatever you're into. So you have that expertise. I know many of you personally that I'm sitting here making this video talking to that are into Bitcoins and the Doge coins and whatever, that have no damn training at all in those alternative financial instruments. And you've invested 10%, 20%, 50%, 100% of your life savings in those financial instruments with absolutely no backing or understanding of the backing for what those are even valuated on. Well, that rung to me very similar to subprime loans and mortgage-backed securities based on what we call derivatives and, a bunch of other funky stuff back in the subprime days that we not going into now. But basically back then we created this Ponzi scheme off derivatives, off subprime loans, based on what little box they fit in that they really didn't fit in, and so on and so on, to an unsuspecting investor in Dubai or wherever, pension fund. Now, so people say to me, where am I going with this? I go squirrel a lot, as you guys know. I have watched so many people in these social media groups that I want to slap in the fucking face. Excuse my language. John, this is not the same as 2007, 2008. They say it did not happen in 8, guys. By the way, the subprime crash did not happen in 8. It happened in 2007. Get your facts straight. That did not happen in 2008, it happened in 2007. You, the public, didn't see the shitstorm in 8. Happened in 7, and it was a result of 99 to 7's bad governmental, okay? But what is happening now, yes, you're correct. Subprime loans based on loose lending standards and shady behavior from lenders, appraisers, underwriters. Everybody had a part in it. I was in the business back then. We all were involved in it, okay? There was a lot of blame to go around. But that subprime meltdown brought down the globe. So you say, okay, John, we don't have that anymore. Not exactly. We don't have the same level of naughty loans, correct? Although I'm now, just today, in my email, just today, I can read the email. No doc, no credit required, no job required, no proof of income required, 20% down loan. Today I saw this in my email. Holy shit, here we go again. But here's what we do have. So back then we had all this money from investors around the world putting their little pension money, trusting the Wall Street guy into these subprime mortgage-backed securities, getting their 10%, 12% yields. Holy shit, this is amazing. Guess what you have now? You have this Bitcoin, Dogcoin, Bobcoin, Elon Musk coin, whatever coin you want to fucking call it. And you're doing the same fucking thing. You're doing the same thing. You have invested all this money because you're getting these amazing yields on your cell phone. I have one client friend of mine, John, all I do all day long is make money looking at my cell phone. That's all you do. If it was that easy to make money all day long, people, the global economy, none of us would have to go to work anymore. We wouldn't have to go to our office. We wouldn't have to sew shoes in Mexico. We wouldn't have to make sweaters in Malaysia. We would just stare at our phones. You following me? So now all that money that you worked your ass off of your whole life, you've invested in these fluffy coins. That fluffy coin money goes to Shanghai, goes to Dubai, goes to Wall Street, meanders its way down through the financial markets and into the mortgage market, because now people feel paper wealth. You feel wealthy. And so those people with that money spend money on real estate, which pushes the real estate values up, which pushes your house's value up. And now you feel wealthy, so you say, you know, I can afford that home in Florida, that second home in Florida. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the plunge and I'm going to buy that home in Florida. I know that tract home in Florida is a piece of shit. I know that Starlight Homes, I'm going to call their name out. Let them sue me. I know Starlight Homes is probably not a $600,000 home. It's probably only a $400,000 home, but I'm going to buy them anyway. But you know what? It's because you feel wealthy. You didn't feel so wealthy 4 years ago. And the little tickle in the back of your neck is telling you that's not a $600,000 home. I'm on top of my neighbors. It's paper thin walls. You know, it just doesn't feel that way to me, but the hell with it. Plague, war in Ukraine, I'm going for it. And you know what? I'm worth all this money on paper. And now we have created this asset bubble around the world. But as you create an asset bubble around the world, as we do with bubbles, now think of a bubble. You keep blowing air into a bubble or balloon, whatever you want to use as a choice. Go blow, get a balloon out of your kitchen drawer. Keep blowing air into that balloon. It's bigger, 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 bigger. As a balloon gets bigger, it absorbs more and more people, right? More and more volume, more people get sucked into that space. It gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. I've never seen a balloon in my life that you blew up enough and it didn't pop. And the bigger it blows up, the louder it pops. Now, some people say, well, no, not necessarily, John. Some balloons, you just pop a little tiny hole in that thing, and you're correct. It just, air gets sucked out of it very slowly. Now, do we have an asset bubble? In my opinion, we have an asset bubble across all classes of financials. Not just the stock market, and I called that out 2 months ago. Commodities, stocks, real estate, food, fuel. We have an asset bubble across everything. Not all asset classes in economics get hit at the same time. People will tend to move from what they perceive as the most risky, their speculative stock market, whatever, to the least risky. Okay, I'm going to move from that speculative stock in that upstart company to blue chip stock, and then I'm going to move from that to maybe I'm going to move to uh, pick something, food stock, commodities. And then maybe I'm going to move from that to something safer, even still, precious metals. And people would, in times of uncertainty, love their precious metals to a degree, and even those get hit, as you see. And then maybe they'll move to treasuries. But that depends too. And inverted yield curves happen and all sorts of weird shit. And then, if you'll remember the crash, and several other crashes in history, the Fed worries as much. What do we really worry about? Inflation, or do we worry about the nasty D word? Deflation. When everything drops, deflation. I know some people, young people especially, what the hell is deflation? I can't believe they don't know what deflation is. It means your shit isn't worth anything. Your shirts, your cars, your antiques, your house, nothing is worth anything. And guess what? Your employer now starts cutting your wages. Instead of wages going up, everything drops. So that before you know it, your million. And I've got clients now that I personally know that's waterfront homes that we've sold a decade ago. I had 6 or 7 of them I could think of. We sold waterfront homes for $300,000 a decade ago. Their homes are worth 1.518. Now, nice homes, no doubt about it. They are not 1.518 homes. They just aren't. I mean, we're talking like Laguna Beach, California prices. Your homes aren't worth that. I see no justification in looking at global real estate prices that those homes are worth anywhere close to that on historic trends. So, hope for you their prices stay in that price point. For you, I do. I don't think they're going to. I don't think my prices are going to stay in our homes like that. So, my prediction, overall, across the real estate market, I see a 42 to 46% drop in real estate prices. If we look historically at this, I think we're going to drop 42 to 46%. I see some markets dropping 60%. I see some markets dropping as little as 10 to 15%. Markets in high military industrial complex, high needs markets where there's a lot of engineering needs, and markets where we with this war right now, where we have a lot of very sophisticated physicists and engineers needed, where there's a shortage of those people for this war. We have to bring those people in, where there's a shortage of those people and a shortage of housing. That might offset that, where there wasn't a lot of speculation to begin with. And areas where there's a real shortage of physicians in an elderly population base of people with good sizable income. I see that. I don't see it across the board. This isn't a one size, okay, every market gets hit. But if you look across the board in the next 18 months, where prices are right now, and if you took a camera and took a picture, and we looked across the board in the United States in 18 months, that's where I see the prices dropping. Maybe I'm wrong. Call me out on it if I'm wrong. John's wrong. Okay, I'm wrong. I don't think I am. So part 2. What can you do to position yourself right now financially and joy of life spiritually so it doesn't matter so much? And that's what I really am excited to talk to you about, is what can we as human beings do so that we're not at the mercy of these ebbs and flows. We know we're going to have them. We've got craziness, people shooting kids. We've got some crazy guy in Russia blowing kids up and blowing babies. We've got nonsense in the world, the likes of which I haven't seen in my lifetime. And we're going to continue to see this nonsense. So how can we go to bed at night with this inner peace, enjoy our life, and have the good life, knowing that we still have to get up every day, we have to pee, we have to eat, we have to have some joy in our life, and we have to let this noise go by and function and exist on planet Earth. And we can see in the group chats and the social media, okay, Bob says this, Sally says this. We have to exist, but how can we? And how can we position ourselves to maximize joy? Now, I know most real estate guys want to talk about how you can maximize the number of digits in your bank account. I'm not so sure that's the right approach. For me, it's a little different. I want to talk to you about how you can maximize joy in your life. Let the other real estate guy, if you want digits in your bank account, okay, call Bob or Sally or whoever. But let's go to chapter 2. Chapter 1, just talk to you about what I feel about the financial market. Let's go to now chapter 2, and I'm going to talk to you about how we can maximize joy using real estate as a tool, and then we'll go from there. See you in a minute.